We got a guy who I bug all year long. I told him I'm going to be really, really nice to him today. I took 2 of my happy pills today, so we're going to have a good time. Here's my good friend, Matt Troha. How you doing, Matt?
Dave, you're always nice to me.
You know what? You're a saint, buddy. You are a saint. Whatever they're paying you, tell them you need more. Would you please?
Oh, no, I don't know about that.
Okay. Hey, how long you been in that new house now? I remember a couple years ago we were talking about that new house. Is it 2 years now?
Yeah, 2 years in Hayworth, Illinois. Yeah, little town right south of Bloomington.
We tried to sell the other house for you a couple times. I remember doing that, so you did good.
Yeah, it didn't go so well.
Hey, we're into the first couple of weeks of the the school year and the stuff. What is really going on right now in the IHSA that's keeping you guys busy? I know there's a lot of things that always happens at the beginning of the year. Is there something you're really keeping a focus on right now?
You know what? Right now, it's more of just going through our normal administrative process. All of the spring sports all of the spring sport advisory committees are in the office. We have one in just about every day. It seems like this month, kind of reviewing everything that happened in the spring. So that's kind of what's on our plate, and always obviously keeping a focus on the day to day with all the fall sports going on. But football obviously is always a big focus with all the safety changes we've made the last few years. But it's been a relatively quiet and good first 3-4 weeks here of the season.
You talk about the concussion issue. What are some of the things that are happening that you guys see as a positive at the IHSA?
Well, I think one of the things and it may surprise people for me to say this, is to say that the number of reported concussions have continued to rise over the last few years.
Wow.
And I think that's a good thing in terms of those are ones that people were afraid to report or just didn't report. Or, like when I played 15 years ago, that was just, you got your bell rung and it was a badge of honor. And you moved on. But now we know the seriousness of it. And I think through the education that's happened, I think everybody is a lot more aware of what's going on and willing to report those things and, just realizing the severity of it.
One thing that Pop Warner football has made everybody think about a lot now is that they've eliminated the kickoff in their game, and it's been talk about doing it in some colleges, some levels of college and stuff. Is that a consideration you're hearing a lot from other associations, and have you guys talked about it at all?
I know it's being discussed at the national level by the NFHS, and they, because they write the rule book, they would kind of have to take the lead on that in conjunction with the state associations. I think it's been discussed a little bit, and I think it's more likely that it might be a trickle-down or maybe some kind of combination from the college game if it were to happen, where both would do it simultaneously. I think the big question right now is just how do you make it work within the game, and what's kind of the proper way to go about it. I think especially the thing that people think about is late in games with onside kicks and things like that is, how do you create some kind of equalizer maybe that allows a team a chance to get back in a game. But, I think all those things tend to have a trickle-down mentality. And, when they happen at one level, whether it be starting at Pop Warner or starting at the NFL, I think that you generally see the other groups and other leagues kind of follow suit. So it wouldn't shock me if there were a change here in the coming years.
A lot of people that I talk to, and they say, well, you know what, alternate possession in basketball, we don't jump the ball anymore and stuff like that. They kind of compare it to that. Do you think that we're getting close to where we're done fixing football, or is that going to continue to be an issue as long as kids are still getting concussions and things?
Well, I think on the safety front that we've done, about as much as we can do for right now. I think the thing that we just touched on, maybe some of the special teams plays, could be tweaked. Beyond that, though, I think that targeting is going to continue to be a prominent issue, and trying to kind of take that out of the game. And maybe there could be, and I don't have any inside info on this, but there could be, maybe greater penalties or something in that direction. That's been a hot topic just with the Notre Dame game last week and some of what happened in this Panthers-Broncos game. I think that we're kind of reaching the limits of what we can do in terms of limitations, and I think the next big breakthrough hopefully comes with the helmets. As I don't know if you've read about this, but these kind of breakaway helmets, they almost call them, where they kind of push in. That might be the next big piece, I think, in football.
We're talking with the IHSA's Matt Troha, and whenever I have a question concerning an issue, and there seems to be lots of issues now in high school sports, this week I contacted him about the situation of Christian Life with the 8-on-8 football. They don't have enough players. There's other schools facing that issue. Was that something that kind of surprised you, that a team would want to play 8-on-8 and then they'd have to forfeit the games anyway? I mean, that's kind of I've never been through one of those before, Matt.
Yeah, I can't think of a time I think I'm in my 9th year now, and I can't recall a time when a team has dropped down to 8-on-8, although talking a little bit around the office, it sounds like from Craig Anderson, our past football administrator, that maybe it has happened a few times throughout the years. But, I've heard more talk of that from our membership over the last few years from smaller schools, just wondering, hey, would we ever consider adding an 8-on-8 division? I think it's a good thing to still give their kids, the opportunity to participate, and who knows? It could be they could be on the forefront of a change here in Illinois. I mean, maybe that's something we'll see in the coming years.
I know Wisconsin does it. If you would do that or even consider it, would you talk to states like Wisconsin that have the 8-on-8, even Texas, and then they all have different versions of it?
Yeah, I'm sure we would. I think Iowa does as well. Mm-hmm. There's a number of states that play 8-on-8, so I'm sure that we would look into that. And, we have a pretty good relationship already with a lot of the folks in the offices here in the Midwest. So I'm sure that, we'd have some conversations and just, kind of look at things and make sure there's anything we're not missing or not realizing that comes about when you have 8-on-8 football.
We've both been around for a while. I've been around a lot longer than you, Matt. But does it kind of seem like high school sports is? And it's not because of anything that's going on, but it seems like now you can watch games on ESPN. People are traveling all over the world. Is that causing you any concerns at the IHSA about all this? I mean, we're kind of really commercializing young men. Some of them don't even drive cars yet.
It does and it doesn't, Dave. I'll be honest with you. There's the old school part of me that kind of hates that. To see kind of these super teams on ESPN and these sports academies. But, at the end of the day, too, I think that those are such a small percentage of what's going on. And I also, I understand the need. And when you're in a state like Illinois where we've had such struggles with budgets and fundings at a state level,
yeah.
I understand it more that schools need to do what they need to do to get by and to be able to field these teams. So yeah, that there's I guess, philosophically, it probably bothers me a little bit, but at the same time, I understand that they need to do what they need to do to continue to create opportunities for high school athletes.
I'm going to ask you this one last question. It's kind of on my favorite issue, transfers, but it's not a bad one.
Mm-hmm.
No. Like IMG, there's schools from Canada now coming down that are playing football, and basically they are football schools or basketball schools. How will the IHSA approach that if that happens here? Because we've lost a lot of good athletes down to IMG from Illinois in the past couple of years. Lala Muir in LaPorte's taking some kids for basketball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, our schools are not allowed to play those.
Okay.
If a school like that is not a part of their high school association, and generally schools like that don't meet the guidelines to be a school. There's actually a school like that, or was down in Southern Illinois at one time. I'm not sure if it's still there, but yeah, our schools are not allowed to play those schools. So I like that rule, and that I think it draws that line that what high school sports is, and maybe those groups necessarily meet, our criteria of that. So I think that's a good thing.
The problem with IMG is the FHSAA accepts them as a member, just won't let them play in the playoffs. So they would be eligible to play in Illinois school. Right?
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Well, it's one of my little pet peeves that you always hear from me. So am I doing good all right today? Did I take enough pills, Matt?
Dave, you're always good. I think you think we disagree on a lot of things, but I hear where you're coming from on a lot of stuff, and just the way we have to approach it, or the way our bylaws are written, don't always allow us to do what you want done. But it doesn't mean that I'm not thinking the same thing.
You're very gracious, Matt. If I ever have another kid, I'm going to name it Matt. Would that be all right?
That would be fine.
Hey, thanks for taking time. I know you're busy. Appreciate it, and we'll do this more often. Okay.
Hey, anytime, Dave. Thanks for having me.
We've been talking to the IHSA's Matt Troha. Always a pleasure to have on. Always lots of things to talk about.